Man in California. He's a Catholic priest from Ireland who has ministered for 37 years to both African Americans and Latinos in the Watts section of Los Angeles. Saul Gonzalez reports.
The Los Angeles neighborhood of Watts has long been synonymous with inner-city desperation and despair. It's, after all, the neighborhood that exploded in urban unrest in 1965, and then again during LA's 1992 riots. Today, Watts is still home to some of the meanest streets in the city, but they're streets walked regularly by Father Peter Banks, a Catholic priest who, dressed in his robes, rope belt, and straw hat, looks like a fish very much out of water. Born and raised in rural Ireland, Banks arrived as a young priest in Watts in 1973, assigned to the St. Lawrence of Brindisi Church.
My picture of America before I came was Hollywood, Disneyland, and the beach. So I got into the car, we drove up Century, and we crossed Vermont, and I began to realize this is a very different world. It was all black. And the very first Sunday I stood up on the altar, I said, what am I doing here? How will I ever understand the people? Will they understand me? In my weakness, I find strength.
In the decades since, though, this Irish priest and the people of Watts have come to know each other very well.
Thank you, Father.
And Father Banks has become a beloved figure, both in his church and the wider community.
That'll look great on television. You give me a big kiss. Another one, okay. Okay. We're standing here in the heart of Watts.
Father Banks says his taking an active role in the day-to-day life of the community has been key to being accepted by the residents of Watts.
How important is it for you to do what we're doing now, to get out, to walk the streets, to...
Oh, I feel part of the flesh and blood and soul of Watts. My brother, my brother.
As he walks through the community, Banks meets and ministers to the casualties of drugs, poverty, and violence in Watts. One of them goes by the name Red Man.
Now, he never minds me saying this, but this man was shot 13 times and survived.
I love this man. This is really, he's the only white man that can walk Watts with no gun, just walk in my face and walk here and know everybody. Everybody knows Father Peters. He is the true father of Watts, the real man, a real servant of God.
And God give you strength.
Red Man and a friend then ask Father Banks to lead them in an impromptu street corner prayer.
When God dwells within, nothing but good can come out.
Central to the story of Watts and Father Banks' church is the incredible demographic shift which has occurred in this community in recent decades. Once synonymous with the African American community, Watts is increasingly Latino. With that change has come tension.
They call it the black and brown conflict. How do we get black and brown to come together?
That conflict sometimes expresses itself in violence, but often its face is a soft, unofficial form of segregation. Latinos largely stick to themselves, African Americans as well.
You wouldn't go out of your way to hang out with Hispanic kids?
No, I really wouldn't, because I know that might sound racist, but like if I see a Mexican girl or a Latino girl, I'd just be like, I'm not hanging out with her, like, because she's just not my people. Yeah. I know that's wrong, but that's just like the way it is in our society or community.
It's such feelings that Father Banks has tried to battle in Watts, making both African Americans and Latinos feel welcome in his congregation and breaking down walls of mutual suspicion and hostility. He's done that by learning Spanish, slowly integrating some church services, and developing sensitivity to the problems of both Latinos and African Americans.
I love the cap. It's an Irish cap. Have you got an Irish cap?
Father Banks says being Irish can actually be an advantage in his work in Watts.
I feel it is. One time I was talking to the black kids, that's when I came first, and they were saying something about the whites, and I held up my arm, I said, look at me. And this little girl said to me, Father Peters, they call Father Peters. Father Peters said, you're not white, you're Irish. I can relate very much to the black in the sense of the Irish being persecuted. It used to say in the States, I think, no black or Irish need apply. And I feel, I do identify a lot with the African American people and their pain and their suffering. I'm able to relate to the Latinos and saying, I'm an immigrant. And I tell the Latinos people, I said, I am an immigrant too. I came here and I said, I'm far away from my own land. I know what you go through.
Members of Father Banks's congregation say they appreciate his efforts to build bridges of understanding between African Americans and Latinos.
Él ayuda a toda la gente, afroamericanos, latinos.
He helps all the people, African Americans, Latinos, the entire community. To us, Father Peter doesn't recognize borders. He's a person who helps everybody. And that's why we're here.
If PR, or public relationship and communication was a gift from God, poof, he got it 10 times, you know, because he can get out there and talk to different people and they just feel his love and he'll tell them to come here and then they'll feel the love and it's just a relationship that blossoms.
As he's gotten older, Banks says he's increasingly focused his energy on the education and safety of Watts' youngest at the elementary and middle school operated by his church.
Is this the best school in the whole world? Yes! They know more about pain than I do in my lifetime, and they're only 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. You saw them there this morning, dying for affection. If I don't feel optimistic and I feel tired, I come over to the school. I get energy from the school. I get energy from these children. Hope is to be able to sing in the middle of the darkness, and I think that's what hope is for me. I can still sing in the middle of the darkness.
However, after serving the spiritual and material needs of this community for much of his adult life, Father Peter Banks will soon depart Watts. He's been asked to take a job as a church recruiter in a rural area of California. Although he says he feels duty-bound to fill this position, Banks acknowledges he feels conflicted about leaving this community.
That's an emotional issue for me. It's going to be a big struggle to leave here. It's going to be I'm at peace with God. That's all I can say. I'm at peace with God. I feel it's God's will that I continue his work. And we need priests for the church and brothers. And
But it hurts.
Oh, it hurts deeply. I put so much of my life in here. I have invested so much in children. She's waving up, yes. Jesus bless her. It's the biggest change in my life. I feel I'm leaving home twice. I left Ireland 37 years ago, and I feel I'm leaving home again. So, but I've come to terms with it, and I know that I'm doing it for a good for a higher cause, a higher power. Happy birthday to you.
The people whose lives Father Banks has touched in Watts hope his example will inspire others to continue his work of cultivating peace and understanding in a community that so needs them. For Religion and Ethics News Weekly, I'm Saul Gonzalez in Los Angeles.
Is that right, Eddie? Anthony?